He was a morbidly obese surgeon destined for an operating table and an early death. Now he's a rebel MD who is fabulously fit and fighting to make America healthy again. This is Stay Off My Operating Table with Dr. Philip Ovadia.
Off My Operating Table podcast with Dr. Philip Ovadia, and we are joined today by Jenny Midich. I am eager to hear from her because I watched a couple of her videos just so I could get an idea. Who is this lady? She's has mentioned a couple of things that I want to dive into deeper, assuming that we get there. But Phil, why'd we invite this girl on?
Definitely. I have been wanting to have Jenny on for a while. Probably met her for the first time, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago at a conference. She is a great, and I don't know which order to put this in, great person, great mom, great cook, has a new book out that I'm really excited about. And so we finally were able to get her on. So Jenny, why don't you start, maybe give a little bit of the backstory, what got you to write a book called Complete Carnivore?
Yeah, that's quite the story. I mean, I started my carnivore journey almost 3 years ago. In a couple of weeks, I'll have my 3-year carniversary. And it was my husband who found carnivore. He found some of Dr. Barry's videos, as so many people do. And he brought it to me. He said, I'd really like to try this diet. Would you do it with me? A little backstory on him. He had been morbidly obese, over 400 pounds. And before we had met, he had lost 130 pounds using keto and water fasting. But he still had about 70 pounds to lose. So he brought this to me. For me, I had just had twin boys. I was 70 pounds overweight from that. And I was trying to lose weight the traditional way and having a hard time. So when he came to me with the carnivore diet, I was not very receptive, I guess is the nicest way I could put it. I was like, absolutely not. This is crazy. How can you only eat meat? You'll die. All of the standard complaints. But I watched the videos with him over the next 6 months, and my weight loss was super slow, and I was very frustrated. And something must have sunk in with the carnivore diet, because at the end of that year, I said, you know what? I think I'm going to try carnivore for 30 days and just see what happens. I'm a huge data nerd, so I was wearing a continuous glucose monitor for about 3.5 months at that point. And I wanted to see what would happen to my glucose levels. So that was one data point. And I was also curious how much weight I would lose. So I started carnivore, and it was a miserable first month, but I lost 8 pounds, which was the most I'd ever lost in a single month using any diet. And my glucose levels went from the low 100s on average to the low 80s. So I was hooked. And so I committed for another 30 days, another 30 days. And then that kind of snowballed into where I'm at today. I already had a YouTube channel. So I was releasing twin mom lifestyle content. And about 6 months into my carnivore journey, I released 2 videos about the carnivore diet, a 30-day carnivore update and a 90-day carnivore update simultaneously, because there was no other carnivore content on my channel. And they blew up. Those videos blew up. And that's kind of where the evolution of the Jenny Midich channel happened, because I tried to release other content that I was used to releasing, and it just didn't perform the way that the carnivore content did. So my channel evolved from twin mom lifestyle to a carnivore educational channel after that. The book came about in an interesting way. I got an email randomly last summer from Victory Belt, who is the publisher of the book. They've also published Dr. Sean Baker, Dr. Ken Berry, Courtney Luna's book. And are you working with them, Dr. Ovadia?
They will be publishing my upcoming book, yes.
Yeah,
indeed.
yes. So I got an email from them, and I read the line down at the bottom, Victory Belt. And I'm like, I think I know this publisher. So I looked at my bookshelf, and I had 6 or 7 books of theirs on my shelf, and they make beautiful books, just thick paper, color photos, gorgeous, very high quality. So I'm like, I have to take this call. And it's funny because they had emailed saying, hey, do you want to write a cookbook? And I told my husband 2 weeks before, absolutely not. I would never write a cookbook, because I had talked to Courtney Luna, and she had said it was a nightmare. It was a lot of work. So he and I had just had that conversation 2 weeks before. And then I get an email from Victory Belt, hey, you want to write a cookbook? So I took the call, of course. I'm not going to say no to that. And I told them I really don't want to write a cookbook. What I'd really like to write is a complete in-depth guide to the carnivore diet, like a reference manual for the carnivore diet, and we can have recipes in that as well. And they were game. They were down for that. So that's kind of how it happened. Took about 6 months to write the book, including testing all the recipes, the photos, and all that kind of stuff. And then it just came out November 4th this year. So it's been a crazy, my whole YouTube channel and carnivore journey has been a whirlwind. And it's just amazing that this is what I get to do for a living. I get to help people regain their metabolic health through all my nerdy experiments and YouTube.
Yeah. Awesome story. The first piece I guess I want to unpack, right, is most twin moms, right, aren't really sitting there thinking, oh, I should start a YouTube channel. So kind of what got that started, and then talk a little bit more about, how that kind of developed after introducing the carnivore aspect of it.
Yeah, so this is actually like my third or fourth YouTube channel. I started YouTube in 2020 with a camping and outdoor adventure channel. So I grew up in a Boy Scout family, so I love camping and kayaking and all that kind of stuff. We had a second channel that was Airstream renovation. We have a vintage Airstream that we started renovating in 2020 because there was a big thing going on in the world and no one was doing anything else. But then with the babies, that's like my third channel. So that's kind of how it all happened. But yeah, I've always had a passion for creating. I was in a creative and performing art program from 6th grade until 12th grade, until I graduated. Theater, technical theater, and art is my background. And I always loved photography, so it's just kind of, I don't know, translated that way. It's a really cool way I'm a mom. And at that point, when I started this channel, I was like, I can't really go camping. I can't really renovate an Airstream if I'm super pregnant with twins, but I can do twin mom lifestyle stuff and still have that creative outlet. So that's kind of how that all happened. And I love it. I love creating videos and trying to become a better editor and better storyteller. I think it's a really fun part of being a YouTuber.
Okay, I got to dive in and ask this question because this has been niggling at the bottom of my skull for years, really. And I realized that when you self-identified as an N=1 kind of tester, you might be a really good person to answer this question. Are you aware of any particular qualities that you possess that have made you able to do this kind of self-testing? I know that I ask this question because I want our audience who's out there looking for answers to health issues to be able to figure out, why am I stumbling? Why am I not able to pull this through? For yourself, what's made you able to do it? And more importantly, you've probably had contact with a lot of folks, and you might have some insight into what helps. Is there a mindset? Is there a personality type? What do folks need to take in to make themselves be able to solve these problems for themselves, these health issues for themselves?
Yeah, I believe that you're the only person that's 100% invested in your own health. Even your significant other, your children, like, yeah, they care about you, but it's you. You have to live in this body. So I think anybody can do an N=1 experiment. It's really just trying to figure out, like, what does this blood test mean? Where can I get this done? How should I design an experiment? And all of those things are really simple once you've done it a million times like I have. But in the beginning, it can be intimidating. I think the personality traits that I tap into for myself is I'm naturally a very curious person. So when I started carnivore, blood work videos on YouTube are now a dime a dozen. They're all over the place. But when I started carnivore, there wasn't a lot of great, this is how to read your lipid panel, for example, or your fasting glucose, fasting insulin. There wasn't a lot of that. So I created a video around it. I dove into the research. I tried to look at different low carb and ketogenic diets in this space and what their functional medicine ranges, recommendations were, so that I was giving accurate advice. So you don't want to be leading people in the wrong direction. And then I did a bunch of blood work that I ordered on ownyourlabs.com, and it came back and I did the work. I just learned it for myself. And that's just because I'm really curious about it. I wanted to know the answer. Now I've created probably 30 or 40 blood work related videos in the hopes that normal people that don't have the time to invest in all this research and reading and figuring all this out can watch one of my videos and just be like, okay, cool. Now I know exactly where I can go to get the blood work. I know what my triglycerides should be, what's the optimal range, so on and so forth. So curiosity for sure. Again, huge data nerd. I just love seeing everything on paper. And granted, blood work, DEXAs, continuous glucose monitoring, those are just one piece of the puzzle. And that you also have to look at symptoms and how you feel. And it's holistic. One test isn't going to tell you everything, but it can tell you some things. And I think that's cool. And then I would say perseverance. You have to
Okay, quantify that.
perseverance.
Quantify perseverance. Oh, I tried this for 2 days and it didn't work, or I tried this for 2 years and what does perseverance actually look like?
I mean, when I think of perseverance, I think of just like never stopping, just always trying to get to the root of whatever you're trying to explore. I think if you're going to try something, a diet, carnivore, for example, you need to give it at least 30 days. I really think 90. Perseverance in my life has just been when I have a goal in mind, I just keep working at it until I achieve that goal. And sometimes the goal shifts and changes depending on the journey to get there. But I find that to be kind of a secret power of mine is I just never quit. And it just, things happen. I think you got to do the work. But yeah, you can't let mistakes and stuff that happens along the way get you down. Just move on and keep going. That's kind of what I think of when I think of perseverance.
Okay, I heard you talk. I'm sorry, Phil, but this was going to resonate, I think. I heard you mention Hashimoto's.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, that is one of the gnarlier diagnoses that a person can get in terms of just trying to get themselves healthy again. I would love to hear what that has meant in your life to have a Hashimoto's diagnosis. And then, well, yeah, where have you gone from that?
I'm glad I have the diagnosis. I'm happy that I know what's going on because for about a year, I had no idea what was going on. I had extreme fatigue and hair loss. And those are just classic low thyroid or Hashimoto symptoms. But it's not been fun. It sucks. I mean, I have to be very careful about what I eat. I cannot consume dairy, conventional dairy. Obviously, I'm not consuming gluten. That's something you don't eat on carnivore. But I also have to be very cognizant about my sleep, particular supplements that I take. And I have been really diving into root cause because you're right. Hashimoto's there's not a ton of great information out there, and a lot of doctors and practitioners just don't even know how to even address it. So I've gone down many rabbit holes, and I will say that I have been feeling a lot better. I don't think it's healed. I do think I can put it into remission, but I'm not there yet. But I'd probably say I'm at like 70 to 80% energy levels, whereas when I first started the whole Hashimoto's journey and all that stuff, I was probably at like 20%. I could barely function. And as a twin mom with my kids are 4, they just turned 4, and YouTube channel and all this stuff, it was debilitating. It was debilitating.
There were two things I want to dig into in your background. The first one that kind of fascinated me, right? Theater, creative background, and you end up, and then you said data kind of science nerd, which those two usually don't go together.
Yeah.
So maybe talk a little bit about that interesting combination of backgrounds.
I mean, I'm a complete weirdo, so I think that's probably it. But no, ever since I was a little kid, I was always like doing plays and getting my little brother to be like the ticket holder because he was so shy. I'm always been doing that. But the funniest thing is I like to be behind the scenes too. I really like, with technical theater, I did stage manage an entire play and the lighting and all that. I've been fascinated by that. I really like to be in charge of making everything run correctly. And that's kind of translated into some of my other jobs. I was a youth director at a church, and we would do these huge fundraisers for our summer work camp trip where we'd go and fix up people's houses and have 300 or 400 people and a dinner and a show. So I was able to take my high school training per se and translate that there. And then now I've been able to use my lighting and I guess camera work skills. This was in the late 90s, early 2000s, so we didn't have a lot of the stuff that we have nowadays. But yeah, it's interesting. The data nerd stuff, I don't know where that came from because I'm not a big math geek, but I love science, biology, chemistry. I love all of the blood work stuff. I guess I just like to figure out how things work, like how things tick, and it's, I don't know, endlessly fascinating to me. So it's my degrees are in management and finance. So I have business degrees, but I have always had a passion for the sciencey stuff. So I don't know how that mix came together. It's just, that's me. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think that's great. Talk about your perspective, right? On, you said you started making these videos about how to interpret your blood work. And I fully recognize, right? 99.9% of doctors would be here yelling, like, how dare you? You can't do that. But I love it. And I find it interesting. And what I really want to hear your perspective on is the people out there, right? What's that balance between having someone with a degree and talk about the science and this is what the numbers versus a real person, we'll call it, right? A real world person. And this is what my experience is, and this is what I learned about it. And how do you think those two kind of come together ultimately for the person who's out there and just has no clue how to get started and stuff, or what to do, how to track?
Yeah, I mean, I was that person. I had no idea how to interpret any blood work. And I'm not going to say I know how to interpret all of it. I know how to do a thyroid panel. I know some basic blood tests, just the ones that everybody should know how to interpret. It's not hard to know what the functional medicine ranges for fasting insulin should be. You know what I mean? Like, everyone should have this knowledge in their toolbox, because then they're empowered. You can go and in 44 out of 50 states in the United States, order your own blood work online. If you are trying to track something, anything, weight loss, Hashimoto's improvements, things like that, you should be able to do that at the drop of a hat, and then not need a doctor to show you what goals are. In my book, chapter 8 is all monitoring your progress. I have an entire chapter on blood work, DEXA scans, continuous glucose monitoring, ketones, arterial scans, all of that stuff in both US and international units, measuring units, so that people anywhere in the world can take a look at that and be like, okay, this is what I should be aiming for my triglycerides, my insulin, whatever. And the thing is, like, conventional medicine reference ranges are based on an ill population. Most people that are getting blood work are sick. So what you want to aim for are functional medicine ranges. You want to be the best. You want to be optimal.
Okay,
And
that's the second time you've used that phrase, functional medicine range.
Yeah.
Define, please.
So a functional medicine range would just be like, you want to be at your best. Sure, okay, a fasting insulin of single digits or in the low teens is what a conventional doctor would say is ideal. But if you want functional medicine ranges, like you're in a really good shape, 2 to 6. So that's what I mean when I say functional medicine ranges.
Okay.
Yeah, really looking at, again, what's optimal versus what's average or expected, right? That's kind of how the traditional lab normals are defined by, this is what most people fall within, but that may have nothing to do with what's actually optimal for
with health,
your body.
Right.
Yeah, for your body functioning and health.
Yeah.
So,
I have never wanted to be
yeah.
average. I've always wanted to be the very best that I can be, and that translates over to my blood work as well.
Yeah, definitely. And again, I think it's great, right, to be able to get this information to people in an accessible way that they can relate to, which can be a challenge, right? And I can tell you, as a doctor, a lot of times it sort of comes off as, maybe people get the perception like, the doctor's telling me this is how it should be, but is that really relevant to me? And someone like yourself being able to say, this is my experience and this is what I've been doing and this is how it worked or didn't work for me, I think can really help spread this message further. So I love it. I think it's awesome. So, carnivore, mom of 2 4-year-old children now, you know, the question that always comes up, right? What do you feed the kids? Can you feed them carnivore? Do you, I guess, maybe go through all 3?
Yeah, 100% yes, you can feed your kids a carnivore diet. My kids are 4 and they eat an animal-based diet. So they eat meat at every single meal. They eat a little bit of fruit, Max more so than Harry. Harry's not a fan. He'll do applesauce, but that's about where we draw the line. We keep it gluten-free. So if we do like a mac and cheese, it'll be gluten-free, organic mac and cheese. But mostly it's meat, dairy, and a little bit of fruit. And I will tell you, they've been eating that since they could eat solid foods, because my husband and I both became carnivore when they were 1. And they are just off the charts in growth intelligence. Like they're super like sturdy. They have like little baby abs. It's insane. And they started reading at 2.5. And granted, we've done a lot of work with them. Like we've been reading to them since they were newborns and fostered that in them, but they legit read. It's still scary. It freaks people out. Like when they're like, oh my God, how old are they? And they're reading like that. So yeah, carnivore is great. For kids that are healthy, I don't know that you need to go like full 100% carnivore with them in order to see the benefits. Our kids eat like all beef hot dogs. I make them little ground beef bowls with like Primal Kitchen ranch on it. They love chicken drumsticks and chicken wings. They gnaw on that. Steak, of course, they love steak, burger patties and things like that. But we've seen the benefits without having to be 100% carnivore. So I think you can just kind of figure out what works best for you and your family. But yeah, it's been great for us.
I don't know how much, it's been a while since my kids were 4, but we were around a ton of families that had kids roughly the same age. So we were all mixing in and out with each other. And this was back right after fire was invented. So things were different. Carnivore was not a thing. Are they around other kids eating other diets, and how do they respond?
That's a good question. So we're slight hermits.
Yeah.
Because COVID times and all that, we didn't really leave the house much 2020, 2021, 2022. We've now been venturing out more. They do hang out with their cousins. Like if they're over at my brother's house, they will have some chips, Doritos or Lay's potato chips, and they're obsessed with them. They love them. If they go to grandma's, they'll have some goldfish. But we haven't yet run into that being around a bunch of other kids thing because we just haven't. We're going to be homeschooling as well. So we're going to probably get them into Boy Scouts, go to the gym. There's 2.5 hours of free daycare per day. So I'm like, you're going to that. We'll hang out with some kids there. But no, we haven't run into that yet. But it's funny. We do get them a birthday cake every year for their birthday. And every year we try to get them to eat a piece. They will not eat it. It's too sweet for them. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Data nerd mom might be able to run an N=2 long-term study. What do they call that?
Yes.
A longitudinal study?
Longitudinal study. There we go. That's coming up next.
Yeah.
No,
At what age did my kids start eating their birthday cake?
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that, your statement that it's too sweet for them. Typically, kids are hooked by sweet, I think. And is the question that occurs to me, is a lifetime of not being exposed to it, to some extent, inoculated them against the addictive properties of it?
To a degree, I think. They're also still only 4, so we'll see when they hit puberty. I don't know if that'll stick, but we just don't have that stuff in the house. That's the whole thing with my philosophy on this. I'm not like the carnivore police, and I don't believe anything in this world is black and white. So, like, I want them to have birthday cake. They have 3 pieces of candy on Halloween. I want them to have those experiences, but when they're at home with us 95% of the time, they're going to eat what we're eating. And I think that's a really good baseline, and it'll give them a healthy appreciation for what's healthy and what's not. And I also want them to pay attention to how they feel after they eat certain foods. If they come home from a birthday party in the future and they feel yucky because they ate some cake, we're going to talk about that and recognize it so then they can helpfully learn those things for themselves and make decisions when I'm not around. So that's kind of my goal, but again, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think it's a sort of interesting, right? Most kids don't get the opportunity to experience what, an animal-based, right? A healthy diet, I'll just say it broadly, is like. They're just awash in processed food from birth. I mean, you look at baby formula, it's a processed food. And so they never get the opportunity to really figure out, oh, this is what good feels. And then I eat this other stuff, I don't feel so good. They're just used to not feeling good from the other stuff that they're eating. And I now know a number of people, obviously, who have, started their kids from birth essentially on this, or very young ages. And that does seem to be something I hear a lot, right? They're like, yeah, sometimes they get offered it and they just don't want it because they kind of already recognize that it doesn't make them feel good.
Yeah, completely. So I just hope that it sticks like that. We'll see. Again, they're still so little.
This is cool. This is a family with young children who are primarily animal-based diet in the entire family. Other than specifically physical benefits, Have there been any unexpected results outside of just better health that you have experienced as a family, individually or as a family, as a result of adopting this different lifestyle?
I mean, yeah, for sure. I guess just for me and Goran as parents, definitely increases in energy, which is needed for our insane children. Mental health improvements for both of us. I used to have anxiety and depression, no
Whoa,
longer
whoa,
same.
whoa, don't blow past that.
Yeah, mental health improvements. Yeah, I had serious mental health issues, treated them with drugs and alcohol in my teens and 20s, but I no longer have any depression or anxiety. None. I don't even have my prescription for as needed anxiety medication anymore.
So, do you attribute that mental/emotional change to your dietary change?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because I've done many N of 1 experiments, and one was the sugar diet, which I did over the summer for 8 days. And on day 7, my anxiety came back, and I have not had it for years. It's very interesting. So, yeah, it's definitely related to diet.
Were you particularly ill-fed? And I don't mean
Sure.
starved. I just mean, were you a typical American kid eating the standard American disgusting diet?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. Fish sticks and Kraft mac and cheese and sandwiches on white bread and yeah, everything. We were standard American kids through and through.
Yeah, it's no matter how many times I hear it, again, it continues to be fascinating. And of course, we have a whole growing field of metabolic psychiatry that the evidence just keeps piling up, which is great.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I talk to people every single day that have healed from bipolar 1 and 2, schizophrenia, anorexia, depression, anxiety, across the board. And a lot of people with the more serious mental health conditions, they're told their entire life, you'll always have to live with this. And then they go on carnivore, and within 3 months to a year, a lot of it's resolved. It's like magic, but it's amazing. It's
But
the
that's
food.
not why you did this diet.
No, I did it to lose weight, pure vanity. And then I got a lot of other benefits that I wasn't expecting, like the mental health improvements. I was not expecting that.
What about your relationships?
I, I don't know. My relationships have always been pretty positive, but I'll say that with carnivore and just, I always have a steady mood now. So I guess I'm operating at a much higher optimal baseline. And then that translates into better relationships and just better interactions across the board. I'm much more patient. I try to be as kind as possible. Whereas before, if I was on constant glucose spikes and dips, I would get hangry. The anxiety and the depression was there. So it was hard to be kind to people when you're not feeling great yourself. So, yeah, I think that's kind of been where the benefits have come in relationally for me.
It makes me wonder if part of the toxicity of popular culture can at least partly be explained by everybody's eating shit.
I 100% agree with you on that. When you're not feeling good, you're not going to be bringing your best to the table and you're going to treat other people like crap.
Wow, we
yeah,
could
no,
save the world not just metabolically, but socially and politically by.
yeah, I mean, I certainly agree. And I look at a lot of, there are some times that I'm sort of on social media thinking like, I can almost guess what this person eats on a daily basis because of the way
Yes.
they behave. And one of the things that, again, just I think is a little bit different about the sort of keto carnivore community. It tends to be a pretty like chill community, right? We don't have people out there fighting with each other. And for the most part, I think most of the influencers, we'll call it, right, in this space, they're not out there like fighting with people about, they're not trying to convert people to it. They're not yelling at other people because you don't eat the way I eat. And some other diet camps are like that. And I think it has a lot to do with the mental effects of good health, keto, carnivore, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I think it really is what our baseline existence as humans is supposed to be. And we went and screwed it all up by eating all this crap all the time.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I love our community. Some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. And it's always at all these different conferences that I see you at and others at. It's always kind of like a family reunion. There's, of course, always a little bit of infighting, but in general, I think most of the carnivores that I've spent time with are not negative and they're not infighting and they're not trying to force their diet down people's throats. I always say it like this, like I'm a lighthouse, not a tugboat. If you want information, you can come to my YouTube channel and I have tons of free resources. If you want to ask a question, I will answer it for you, but I'm not going to be like, you have to eat carnivore or you're going to die. You know what I mean? Some people aren't ready for that yet. And I'm here to help the people that are ready. And when those other people are ready, they can come too. So that's just kind of like my philosophy on the whole helping people angle of it.
I love not a lighthouse, not a tugboat. Great way to express it. Let's talk about the book. And my first question is going back to what you said earlier, right? You were like, there is no way I'm ever doing a cookbook. And then you found yourself doing, it's not a pure cookbook, but it's heavy on recipes and that stuff. How was the process? And what did you learn from going through that process?
Yeah, the cookbook portion was the hardest part. So it's like half cookbook, half encyclopedia of carnivore. So 200 pages and 200 pages, 80 recipes. It was a lot of work. I had 40 recipes already pretty much figured out, but we had to test and taste 40 more. So I gained some weight. It was great. My husband loved it. We got to eat a lot of yummy food. But honestly, the front material for the encyclopedia portion I found easier to write than the recipe portion because I am not a chef. I am not classically trained in that. I can cook, but I'm not a chef. So that was harder for me. I create recipes on my YouTube channel for my viewers. I am boring. I eat steaks, chicken wings, pork chops, bacon, sausage, and eggs. Literally, I'm so boring. But the recipes are for all of my friends and viewers. The photos were the hardest part, which was surprising to me, because I do video and I love photography, but food photography is its own little thing. And it took me a month or two to really get the hang of it. Now,
you did your own photos?
Yeah, so for Victory Belt, unless you have a budget for it, you're doing it yourself. So yes, all the photos, food photos in the book, I took myself, and they made them look a lot better than they looked originally, I'll tell you that. But that was the most challenging part. It's so funny because I never wanted to write a cookbook, but Goran and I were just going through some notes and we have like enough recipes to test and figure out for another 2 cookbooks. So I think we're gonna try to do at least one more and see what happens. Because now I know how to do it, but that learning curve, it was tough, especially with everything else on my plate.
I have in mind an actual person who's an avatar for a customer for your book.
Okay.
But let's assume that it's just a generic avatar of a person. You've got somebody who's approaching or in middle age and finding that their middle has spread pretty significantly. And they've recently become aware that maybe it's not just weight that they've been dealing with on a daily basis. It's all kinds of little health issues and maybe bigger than little health issues here and there that they had never put together. And they've tried a little of this and a little of that and blah, blah, blah. And finally, they became convinced that maybe I ought to seriously try this carnivore thing. And they've started it and they're happy. Why should they get your book?
It's a really great question. So there is a portion of the book that is just for beginners that walks you through the entire process of getting started. But I think for the person that's already started, they're feeling really good. I hope they feel that way forever. That's the goal. But most people run into some issues at some point, and they need some help troubleshooting. So chapter 5 is an entire chapter on troubleshooting the carnivore diet, all of the common things that happen to people along the way, and actionable steps on how to get the needle moving forward again. I would also say probably the frequently asked questions chapter is a valuable resource. Like I have a YouTube channel, so I get asked the same questions all the time. So I have cataloged those into 3 different categories where people can, their questions probably in there. Let's just put it that way. And then the monitoring your progress chapter, I think would be really good for somebody, even if you're feeling good on carnivore, maybe you want to take it to the next level and you want to do a little bit of testing and data gathering, and that chapter lays that all out. And then of course the recipes. If you're on carnivore for a while, you might get bored. You might need a little variety, and I have 80 recipes from super strict carnivore to including dairy. the least strict version of carnivore. Even some keto recipes are in there because my husband and I do a keto cheat meal once a month since the very beginning because I love salads, Brussels sprouts, a good wedge salad at a steakhouse. Thank
Okay,
you. I
okay,
love
I gotta
that.
challenge
But
you. I gotta
yeah,
challenge this.
yeah.
You love Brussels sprouts? Come
I
on.
really do. I do. The way that we cook them, the recipes in the book, we do them with bacon, cheese, and a few other yummy things in there to really doctor them up. But yeah, I'll eat
Okay,
a
so the
plain
Brussels sprouts
sprout.
are there to pretend that it's not entirely carnivore.
Yeah, yeah. I
Get the
mean,
kind of the crunchy texture thing, but yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't believe anybody in the world actually
oh,
enjoys Brussels
I
sprouts.
legit love them. I do. I'll have to eat a plate of them next time I see you in person.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
I'd love to hear, and I know you have a video on this, but hey, watch our video instead, folks. You did a sardine diet, would you say a 14-day sardine fast?
Yeah. Yeah. I've done 3,
Oh,
7, 10, and 14-day sardine fasts and did, before and after blood work and DEXA scans.
I know it's a spoiler here to talk about it, but I'd love to hear, I'd love
Oh,
to hear more about the sardine fasts.
yeah.
Why sardines to start with?
That's a really great question. They are just such a powerhouse of nutrition, awesome fat and protein macros, tons of nutrients, just tons. And they're in a little tiny container that's very easy to just crack one open and eat. They travel well and they're very satiating. So if you
Is that because
do,
of the fat that they're packed in or the
I,
fat
I,
that they
mm,
have?
I think it's the fat that's inside the fish itself, but also the protein. It's very hard to eat more than 2 cans in one sitting of a nice big can of sardines. But yeah, I've seen some incredible benefits from sardine fasting. Your ketones rise very fast. Your glucose levels drop very fast. And then you're running off ketones and you feel great. I've seen significant fat loss during all of the sardine fast, though the 10-day was the most significant. I think I lost 8 pounds of fat in 10 days. It was incredible.
Is this DEXA scan validated visceral
Yes.
fat kind of loss?
Subcutaneous fat, I think the fat loss reading in a DEXA is both, but the
Okay.
visceral fat during that went down to 0.5 pounds of visceral fat. That's an amazing reading. And then 8 pounds overall of subcutaneous and visceral. So it
Yeah.
had gone from 1 pound of visceral to half a pound. So half a pound of that was visceral, yeah.
50%.
Yeah, I've never seen a loss like that again. My visceral fat's always pretty low anyways. But yeah, sardine fasts are a great way to reset your system too. We're coming up to the holidays, and if you overdo it in some way, shape, or form, doing a 1 to 3 day sardine fast can get you back on track pretty quickly. I have a coaching client right now that's trying to get her ketones up above a 2 to address some arthritis issues. And she has just been having the heck of a time doing it. But she did a 3 day sardine fast, I think it ended 2 days ago, and she finally got her ketones up to 2.2. And that was a 3 day. She went from like a 0.5 to a 1.2 to a 2.2 that quick. And she hasn't seen ketones like that ever. So if you're looking to have elevated ketones for some reason, a sardine fast is a great way to do that. But yeah, I love sardine fast. I don't love
Well,
sardines, but I love sardine fasting.
for folks who are new to the whole story,
Sure.
uh, ketones at that level means what?
Yeah, yeah. So if you have ketones at that level, it means you're fat burning, you're utilizing fat either on your body or if you're consuming like MCT or if you're using exogenous ketones or something like that. But the reason you would want ketones that high, there's like mental health conditions can be treated with ketones that high, cancer, epilepsy. But some people also just like to have ketones that are elevated because they feel better. My coaching client is trying to treat rheumatoid arthritis by having elevated ketones for an extended period of time, in addition to other anti-inflammatory interventions. That's what I would say.
I will point out for our listeners that Jenny does go through different brands of sardines as well. I'm not going to spoil it and let her be the one who tells you which ones are worth trying.
I mean, I think
I'm,
they're all worth trying as long as they're not canned in vegetable seed oil.
yeah, I'm still trying to get myself to just because I like to biohack too.
Yeah.
And I've never been reluctant to try anything, but my God, I just can't seem to get myself over the line to do a sardine only experiment.
Yeah.
I'll get there eventually.
After the 14-day sardine fast, I didn't touch another sardine for 6 months. So I was like, no, thanks, I'm good.
I understand. Phil, I would love to dive deeper with Jenny about Hashimoto's. I know we're coming up on about an hour here, and I don't want to push it. Should we wrap it up, or can I ask a couple more questions?
No, I think it would be a good area to go into a little bit more. Like Jenny talked about earlier, I see it talked about more now, but it certainly was an area that was lacking. And I find it interesting, and I'd love to hear your perspective on this. It seems to be, it's something that I think has been brought to light by kind of the keto carnivore community. This was, I can tell you my perspective from the traditional medical system, right? I remember learning this as a rare thing, right? And I think for most of my career, you had a lot of people who had some thyroid abnormalities, right? But Hashimoto's was felt to be pretty rare. And now it seems to be pretty common, right? If you look for it, we find it in a lot of people in my practice. And it seems, again, a lot of people within the sort of carnivore keto community seem to have come. It's interesting because, like you, most of the people who know they have it within the community, right? That wasn't why they started carnivore or keto. And they only, after they kind of started carnivore keto, and then they start thinking about their health more and digging a little deeper and doing some different labs, right? They're like, oh, I've had Hashimoto's for 20 years and no one ever put it together. No one ever told me. So that's kind of the perspective I find interesting, that I'd love to hear how that journey was for you.
Yeah, I mean, my journey with my conventional doctor was terrible. I had fatigue, extreme fatigue, not just, oh, I have newborns. Like I was exhausted, barely could get out of bed, and extreme hair loss, like 30% of my hair. So I went to my conventional doctor and they tested just my TSH and it came back normal. And I said, can't we run a full thyroid panel? And she said, no, because if your TSH comes back normal, you're fine. They were saying it was like long COVID. I hadn't had COVID at that point. They were saying it could be like a plethora of other things. And I just knew it wasn't. I knew something was wrong, but it took another year until I went to Hack Your Health in Austin in 2024. And I saw Dr. Amy Horniman speak on thyroid. And I went to her booth afterwards and said, hey, let's do a collaboration. I'll order all this blood work on your labs. You just tell me what to get, and then we'll interpret it in a video. And that was how I found out that I had Hashimoto's. I mean, I guess maybe in your medical training, like it's seen as a rare condition because it's not really being tested for. I mean, all you have to do is run the TPO antibodies and thyroglobulin antibodies and see if there's Hashimoto's. And I've read a statistic that like 90% of low thyroid issues are autoimmune. They're Hashimoto's. Affects women more so than men, but men can also be affected by it. It's a huge thing. I talk to people, hundreds of people have come to my videos on Hashimoto's, maybe even thousands. And a lot of people are suffering from this. It's so annoying that I have to pay out of pocket for a thyroid practitioner because it's not covered by my insurance when I have really good insurance and pay up the wazoo for it. It's very frustrating. But I'm also not willing to sit around and be exhausted all the time and have more damage to my thyroid from the autoimmune condition. Yeah, that's been my experience.
Yeah. And again, the autoimmune component, right, of it, I think is sort of canary in the coal mine, right? And for a lot of people, it's just one of the autoimmune conditions they have. And again, oftentimes undiagnosed, because like you said, doctors just don't do the right testing. And it's still, I mean, it just amazes me now, why we ever thought that TSH alone was enough of a test.
Yeah, TSH, it's a joke. I mean, it's not a joke. You can use it for other things, but on its own, trying to figure out a thyroid condition, you need all of them. Most doctors will measure, conventional doctors will measure TSH and maybe free T4, but both of those numbers of mine were normal. It was my free T3, my reverse T3, and my antibodies that were way off, but they never would have known that because they wouldn't test it. So, yeah.
I've wondered, Phil, because over the last 4.5 years that we've done this show, I've seen this theme consistently, that a whole lot of collections of symptoms that get labeled as disease A, disease B, disease C are actually simply different presentations of a fundamental underlying problem. I've wondered if Hashimoto's, which happens to have a particularly complicated set of presenting symptoms, isn't just that's all it is. It's a complicated set of presenting symptoms that's fundamentally rooted in screwed up metabolism. Or maybe.
Yeah, I think it's fundamentally rooted in the autoimmune response that many people have to the foods that they're eating. That's really where I think this comes from. And that can present in a number of different ways, but Hashimoto's seems to be a very common way that actually presents if it'll look for it. But this is another foodborne illness. It's interesting, right? We always view these autoimmune conditions in the mainstream medical system. They're like a mystery. Like, we don't know why the body started attacking itself.
Yeah.
And again, I think in this community, we've come to recognize that the vast majority of the time, it's because it was really attacking the food that you were eating, and it kind of, your own tissues get caught in the crossfire, essentially. And the number of people that are able to improve and heal these conditions just by changing what they eat, again, never ceases to amaze me.
Jenny, one of the things you said on one of your videos that I thought was really valuable was you were talking about famous carnivores introducing other things into their diet, and you talked about learning to pay attention to what makes your body feel good. That really struck me. This is not an ideology. We don't have a high priest of carnivore who will bless or curse you based on what you eat. This is about learning to notice how your body is affected by what you put in your mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. The body doesn't use words to speak. The body speaks through symptoms, and its feedback is pain, or if you feel good after eating something, that's going to be a really good signal that's the right food for you. Yeah. The carnivore police attack me in the comments, but as far as in this community, I don't think, I've never been dogmatic about carnivore. I was never going to be carnivore for 3 years. This is a fluke. I feel really good when I eat a carnivore diet. I can tell you, when I eat one of my boys' chicken nuggets from McDonald's, I immediately start to feel bad. It's almost instantaneous. My left knee will start to hurt. Or we were on a road trip on the way home recently from Florida, and I had 2 chicken nuggets, and this entire hand seized up, and I had horrible pain down my wrist, and I couldn't hold the steering wheel. What's that? My body was speaking to me. It was telling me, don't eat gluten. You already know this, but I cannot eat it. It's almost instantaneous. And I think most people walk through life feeling like crap all the time, so they don't notice it. But once you get to where you feel good, then you can really start to listen to your body, and it will speak to you. It will let you know what it does not like.
I think that's profoundly true. We're so used to feeling bad that we don't know what feeling good feels. And so we really don't notice when the food that we're eating makes us feel bad, because we feel bad all the time. I think that's one of the most powerful things we can do is do that kind of elimination diet, do a reset, find out how good you can actually feel. I know that once I did that, I discovered a whole category of foods that I hadn't really liked all my life, but I've been told they were good for me, and so I ate them, that weren't good for me. I just quit eating them, and by golly, they don't make me feel bad anymore. Brussels sprouts being at the top of the list, by the way. No.
Dang it. That's so funny. Yeah, I'm the same way. I think people can try carnivore as an elimination diet for 30 to 90 days. I think 90 days is a really good minimum. And then reintroduce foods one at a time for a few days and just see how they make you feel. You may be surprised that some foods that you have loved your entire life really make you feel like garbage. And those are the ones you should cut. And if you have no reaction, add them back in. You don't have to stay carnivore forever, I think, in most cases, but some people do thrive staying carnivore long term. So you'll figure it out.
Yep.
Very well said.
Good stuff.
tell people where they can get the book?
Sure. The book is available anywhere you order books online: Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Books a Million, Blackwell's for our international audience. And I'm hoping to get it into bookstores on the bookstore shelf. So, as many copies as we can sell. And if you already have one, be sure to leave a review wherever you purchased it. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's called Complete Carnivore, and it is a great one. I was fortunate to get an advanced copy of it. That's what I was kind of amazed when I was looking at stuff, and I'm like, wait, the book just came out. And I realized that I was lucky to get the sneak preview quite a while ago, but love it. And I'm also going to put a little plug that if that's not enough, Jenny, for you, my new book, Stay Off My Kitchen Table, which is available for pre-order, it's going to be featuring some of Jenny's recipes as well. And I'm honored that she was willing to contribute to that. And then if they want to learn more about you and what they're doing, where should they follow you?
I think the best place to go is YouTube. You can figure out all my other socials from there, but at Jenny Midich on YouTube, and tons of great free resources for you out there.
All righty. This has been Jenny Mitich. It's spelled just like it sounds, Mitich. We will make sure that these links show up in the show notes, folks, as always, so you can just click on it and go there. Thanks for joining us. This has been Stay Off My Operating Table with Dr. Philip Ovadia, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Chances are you wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you didn't need to change your life and get healthier. So take action right now. Book a call with Dr. Ovadia's team. One small step in the right direction is all it takes to get started. Contact us at ifixhearts.com/talk. That's ifixhearts.com/talk.